Evan was born October the 3rd, 1997 in Aurelia. He was a full-term baby. He was delivered by cesarean section, and he was healthy, beautiful, beautiful baby. And that evening, one of the nurses discovered that he had a cleft palate. I started to notice that he really wasn't meeting some of the developmental milestones that the books tell you. He didn't roll over at so many months. He didn't sit up at so many months. So the journey began where we started to ask questions and investigate what was going on. It was a long process. There was a lot of visits, a lot of appointments, a lot of hospitals. At almost 18 months old, he had his cleft palate repair, and shortly after that he had an MRI on his brain which showed brain damage. It is called Periventricular Leukomalacia, short form is PVL, and that did give us some of the answers that we were looking for. So that did explain his delays in development. Of course, it didn't tell us where the road was going to go next, but it was one step at a time. A typical day for Evan is sleeping in. He's like every other teenager and enjoys sleeping in. It's usually a challenge getting him out of his bed for school, and then it's time for breakfast and our getting ready routines, and out the door he goes to school. Once we get there, we're usually greeted with one of his nurses. He has two that work on opposite days, and also his EA, educational assistant. And he's there for approximately 4 hours a day. Evan finishes school at 2:30, so I pick him up and we usually do his Tim Hortons run, which he enjoys very much. And occasionally we have chiropractor appointments, that sort of thing. And then it's home and changing, and he gets to watch his television, which is of course a huge favorite, and then getting ready for dinner. And then every other day his site is changed, his insulin pump site is changed every other day, and every other night he has a bath as well. Evan and I enjoy going shopping. He's a big help at the grocery store. He likes to push the cart, and he's starting to take things off the shelf and put them in the cart. Sometimes it's not things that we necessarily need. However, he's making the effort. He enjoys going for walks, especially long walks with his wheelchair. We'll go out to the Tay Trail, and I think he would do that all day. He really, really enjoys it. Evan was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 6 years old. He was thirsty all the time, and he just looked generally unwell. So a trip to the family doctor and a blood test and a phone call that Evan was a type 1 diabetic.
So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease where for some reason the body starts breaking down certain cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. So it's very different from type 2 diabetes in that you actually have to give insulin in order to survive. A lot of type 2 diabetics can get away with just changes in diet or changes in lifestyle, but a type 1 diabetic, none of that matters. It's just the insulin that's needed for treatment.
We went to RVH and stayed for a week and had a crash course on type 1 diabetes and where we go from here. So we came home with needles, testers, and that journey began. Evan started with injections when he was first diagnosed, and after a couple of years we went to the insulin pump, which was a huge improvement. Being that he is a teenage boy, he likes to sleep in, so the pump does give him the freedom to do that. And I just find that he is more controlled and it just gives you a little more freedom to play with it a little bit, so you can hopefully keep those numbers in a safe range.
So treatment is more challenging for someone who is nonverbal because we rely on them to communicate when they're high or low, especially when they're running low. And if they're unable to communicate that, we're relying on looking for minor signs and symptoms of it, which aren't always present. And we're unable to check blood sugar 24 hours a day right now, so we're unable to see where his blood sugar is always running unless he can communicate that.
It's interesting, when you become a parent, you really don't know what you did with your time before. When you're a parent of a diabetic child, you really don't know what you did with your time before because it's consuming. It is every day, it never goes away, it's relentless, and he is tested 10, 12 times a day during the night, depending on what his levels are when he goes to bed, determines when I check him again, whether it be 1 or 2, or again at 3 or 4.
So treatment's a lot more difficult for Evan, given that he's nonverbal. He's unable to tell us when he's having highs or lows. And for most children, they'll be able to tell us whether or not there's any symptoms, so they'll be able to alert us to check for a blood sugar. But for Evan, because he's not able to, we're having to check much more frequently throughout a day, and there's a lot more concern he could go low without us knowing. Until we're able to know a blood sugar 24/7, we need some other way to know trends that are happening.
Good girl. Get the back.
So having a service dog would actually make a big change in Evan's life, because he would then be able to alert us to any lows that are happening. And it would give Evan's mother a lot of peace, knowing that there's someone that's always on duty checking for low blood sugars in Evan.
The dog naturally picks up on the scent of changing chemistry in the person's body, and so it would alert. We train it to alert to, in this case, Evan's mother. So the dog would be around Evan, would pick up on the scent, and then would alert Evan's mother that Evan is low, so that Evan's mother, Marilyn, can then go to Evan and treat his diabetes. We like to customize our program. I find out what they exactly need and are looking for in a dog. In Evan's case, he and his mother, Marilyn, are both allergic to dogs. So my cockers that I normally train, we need to find another dog for them that's hypoallergenic. But I see what their needs are. Do they need a dog for public access, or do they need one just to wake the child up at night, or in pet-friendly places, or in the car? Do they need a big dog? Do they need a smaller dog? Is it a small child who isn't very assertive, and so then to have a rambunctious, a very assertive dog would not be possibly the best dog for them. So we talk together and see what they're looking for, and then together we customize a program and the training for their dog.
Bringing a service dog into our family, I think, would provide Evan with some true companionship, which I think would be wonderful for him. And it will provide me, I hope, with some peace of mind that Evan will be safe.
That is what the huge emotion is for them, that they are tearful, that there is something finally that is going to help them. It's another tool in their toolbox to manage the child's diabetes, and the huge peace of mind for the parents.
Evan is a pretty amazing kid. I have learned a lot from him. He has incredible determination, perseverance, stubbornness, which I think he gets from his mom. He is so full of life and love, and he shows it. When he wraps his arms around you and gives you that hug, you know.